Welcome to A Revolution to Lead podcast. We bring you daily wisdom and inspiration from the revolution, filled with the greatest minds and talents of all time. When Jesus walked out of his tomb 2,000 plus years ago, he began a revolution against an old way of life. Jesus is not just offering another self-help strategy, but a brand new reality that is overthrowing the world as we know it. This podcast is all about how we tap into and live out this revolutionary life. So today, our scripture is going to be Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but rather, in humility, value others above yourself. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible. You see, a lot of times people think that God simply is like a king sitting in his palace, speaking words without doing anything. They think God just commands, and yeah, it is, and he's hands off, and he doesn't really interact. However, in John chapter 1, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. Jesus and God, before that, even God the Father, his Word never was him not acting. Actually, when God is in action, he speaks. God only needs a word to act. God only needs to say one word and action happens. God is acting when he speaks. You see, Jesus was working the whole time throughout the Old Testament and we couldn't see him. Before he came in the flesh, he was there because Jesus is the Word. And then the Word, I love how the Message says it, put on skin and moved into the neighborhood. The Word became close to us. The Word, it didn't just sit back and hope we were going to be okay. But no. God acted and became one of us to become our high priest and to fulfill the promise he made to us. God is the last thing from disengaged and inactive, but dwelling with us as we speak. However, sadly, his followers aren't the same. Followers of Jesus are known for their inaction, for their spirituality thinking and no good on earth, their disconnection with the poor, their harsh treatment of those that are different than them. Sadly, Jesus' followers, the last thing they're known for is action. And the first thing they're known for is tearing others down, being rude, and not being reasonable. Sadly, followers of Jesus aren't known for being like their God. Because sadly, we've mistaken thinking spiritually and making a difference. You see, because Jesus combined the two. Jesus, you see, he wasn't going to separate himself because he knew that he was a servant of all. Jesus wants us to go out and touch the poor. Jesus wants us to go out and find the outcasts of society and act. However, many of us like to play the victim game. We like to think that the Bible, all the good stuff was for us. We like to think, well, I'm the outcast, man. I'm the one that you need to be serving. And you might not say it, but how Christians have been acting for the last decades and even centuries, this is the case. Many of us use the Bible to affirm our political beliefs, and we form the Bible around what our political party says. Because sadly, neither party is the Christian party because neither fully believe in fighting for the poor over themselves. And sadly, no matter who you are, we don't do a good job at putting others above ourselves. We would rather make ourselves the main picture of the Bible rather than making Jesus the picture of the Bible. We'd rather make ourselves the main character than rather making Jesus the main character. We would rather be in the spotlight than putting Jesus in the spotlight. So what do we do? What's the first step in the changing all this? Well, first what we must do is remember who we are and remember our position. Remember that we're only dust. Remember that there's no way that a God as great as ours should have put flesh on. We should feel humbled for the story of Jesus, not entitled. Because many Christians are entitled rather than humbled. What we must do is swallow our pride and begin to actually serve others above ourselves. Put others' needs before ourselves in every day, in every way. Think of others before you think the good of yourself. But what if I get taken advantage of? That was the last thing that was on Jesus' mind when he hung on that cross. That was the last thing on Jesus' mind because he was thinking of you. What we must do is trust God and serve others first because it is scary. But when we trust God, when we put him first, he'll take care of us as long as we're putting others first. So if you're enjoying these podcasts, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Because the revolutionary life is not about self-enlightenment, but it's about impacting the world around us. So go out today and be revolutionary.